Alright guys, today we have a very special video. So joining me today is Costy from TheLifeOfCosty, and we're going to be having a discussion on the book Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So this book is about a vampire who is sent into werewolf territory where she's made to marry the alpha of their pack for reasons which she's kind of kept secret at the beginning.
Do we want to go through the points?
Let's do it.
Okay.
So we basically prepared a couple of things that we kind of noticed through the book, things to comment on or that we wanted to talk about. Wolf anatomy.
Oh yeah.
So she really did her research into wolf anatomy.
She didn't do her research. She's a woman that's like late millennial that's lived through the era of Wattpad. And werewolves have animal anatomy, and if you have to deal with like animals, especially wolves and dogs, made in a certain way, and so they kind of brought the same idea. Honestly, I don't understand why they did it, because in my opinion, it wasn't necessary. It just adds a thing of like weirdness to the whole thing.
It did make it a little bit strange. I mean, I wrote it because I thought it was amusing. It was an interesting choice, and it was interesting to read.
I think it was her kind of like calling back to all of her era, all of the readers that have gone through that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be very fun for everyone that's like actually has read that part of like the web, and is gonna read, like, it's grown up and now it's reading like actual books, and like she's gonna be like, oh my god, it's so fun, and adds that level of like impossibility of this mating bond, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. I didn't actually know any of that stuff on Wattpad. I just assumed it was because of her scientific background. She wanted to keep things completely accurate. Like, she didn't want to miss out any
Maybe it's
details.
that. I mean, like, we're just making possibilities,
Yeah.
making up ideas.
It's interesting to see other opinions on it.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sequel. Definitely. We agree that there should be a sequel.
There has to be a sequel, yeah.
I mean, I know that her next slotted to publish book is another, like, return to her normal, like, romance book. But, Ali, if you're watching this, make a sequel.
Yeah.
Make a sequel, yeah.
So, I will go for another one. Lo Being an Architect was this one. I thought it was a cool addition that he wasn't just, you know, some alpha whose life was to serve the pack. And I thought it was really interesting that he kept, you know, his drawings like locked up in his drawer. And I think it was almost kind of sad, because you kind of see how passionate he is about it, but he has to put the needs of the others, you know, ahead of his own, which is exactly what Misery's been doing her whole life. And I think, I guess, by locking up it inside a cupboard in his room, he almost kind of locks away that dream which he had. So I thought it was nice to see that part of him, but also quite sad that he was never able to live out that dream.
Usually it's always like, oh yeah, I have to put like other people before me, and kind of like that. And I understand that, and it's great, but it's something that I've seen over and over again, and I feel like if we see sequels, hopefully, because I mean, like, he's just been established as a new alpha, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he'll be able to like use, in a way, like inside of his pack or inside of the other packs, because like he's like almost one of the most powerful packs, like he governs one of the most powerful packs. Maybe he's going to be able to use that for the advantage of the pack. We don't know.
Yeah, that would be quite cool to see those skills in use, instead of just having it as a distant dream type of thing.
Because he used to be like, he was like, oh, I had this amazing life when I was in Switzerland, like blah blah blah. Literally, when I was reading it, I had like this little like cinematic scene where he was like dancing around like the Lake Geneva and whatever, and like then he was like called to be like a good person for his pack, and then like he just had to go away, and then they had to like give up everything. But also she's like a computer genius or geek or whatever you want to call it. Maybe they'll be able to build, I don't know, cool like games for Anna or something like that. Don't know.
I mean, with her web design abilities and his abilities to draw, maybe they could create something pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely, because like there are so many structures. I read in a review like that there is no map of the different kingdoms and the different areas. Like even in the vampires, there's like the vampire's nest and the vampire's castle, whatever it's called, where the wedding is celebrated. So there is like different infrastructures. I'm sure there is like a hospital for the werewolves or whatever. So
yeah.
They need other people. So if they live like humans, then they need other things like humans.
Yeah, I mean, they did say kind of that. I don't think there was hospitals for werewolves, because when Anna was unwell, they didn't know what to do because.
Yeah, usually they self-heal.
They self-heal, yeah.
But then now we have that mix.
Then it opens up kind of new possibilities.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it at the end if you're in for the for the spoilers. Oh yeah, what do you think about mates in this book and generally being in the recent literature being more and more of a canon for like coupling instead of just people meeting each other and falling in love, like having to be destined to be together?
Yeah, I mean, I think typically I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, it's just because from a pragmatic point of view first, like the odds of you meeting that person are next to nothing, and also it diminishes any relationship that maybe you do have because, oh, well, they're not going to be the one, if that makes sense. But in the context of this book, it was strange the way they did it, because I suppose one person could be one's mate and then it could not be reciprocated, and I thought that was almost cruel to have people paired to different people. So I thought that was an interesting choice.
I don't know. I'm seeing mates and a lot, but also, and I mean, I understand that in certain canons of species, it's like for example for elves, it's like basically the only way to like pair up, like they only do mates. I understand that in a way, and like they mate for life or whatever, because like it's just always been like that, or at least like the old literature that I read has always been like that. But for example, for like I never read it for, well, I've read it for werewolves, because like also we have it in Twilight. So anyways, I'm kind of like, yeah, they could like fall in love instead of like being mates, like for Jacob and whatever, like they could have waited for her to be older. But in this case, I mean, like I get it, because like if they were mates, then maybe they wouldn't have stayed together, but they could have also fallen in love like more organically. Yeah,
I mean, I think the moment that you realize that they're mates, because I don't think it's concealed very well from the start.
No, it's like something that you get from like chapter 4.
Yeah, the moment like he says the comment about how she smells, and then you find out that that's a big thing in mating, then you kind of figure it out. And I suppose that does take some of the fun out of it, because you know that they have to get together, you know, if they are mates. And it also eliminates the fact that, because Misery can't have a mate in the same way, it means that it has to almost be reciprocated. It's not like Misery could have a different person to love.
I think now it's the time to go into spoiler territory. What do you think?
Yes, let's do it. So if you're watching this and you don't want anything to be spoiled, now's the time to close your device, and make sure to check out the Life of Costy's channel, and I'll put it in the description below.
I appreciate that, and I'll see you soon. Alright, so I was wondering the background story, kind of like what's going on, the bad guy, whatever, like we know who's the bad guy. Do you think that it could have held up if we weren't talking about like how much like the reader wants to see the happy ever after with like the main characters and whatever?
I think possibly it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful, I don't think, because I really liked the twist where we find out that Selena's half and half.
Yeah.
And I like that her and Anna are the same. But without the romance, I don't know if it would be as impactful, because in the sense of like how much happens during the book, it is really romance orientated. Like not much of the book is attributed to the plot. So I think without that, the book would have gone through significantly quicker. But that's really what the point of the book was. It wasn't supposed to be like, you know, some adventure story. It was a romantasy. So I think that it's completely fine. It does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, yes, of course, like there is all this turmoil about in between the different reigns of like the werewolves, the humans, and like the changing governors of the humans, so all of these, and also the vampires, of course, and so all of this, of course, is like a good background. I feel like my heart like slowly dropped when like she's like taken from, and like when we discover it's her dad, because I don't know, like we don't really meet her dad, and she never like talks badly about her dad. Although like I had a thing, like an inkling that he wasn't the best person. Like she never actually says, "Oh, he is like such an awful person" and whatever. Like, and I think that was like a good like twist at the end.
That definitely caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was Emery, given the fact that there were no communications coming from that household.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was no one that I thought it was. And then when it came out that it was her father and she got taken, I thought that was interesting. That definitely caught me by surprise. All right, and the final thing that I wanted to say was, there's a scene where Misery and Lo are talking, and they're talking about mates, and Misery is probing for answers. And obviously at that point, it's kind of established that Lo's mate is Gabby, and everything he's saying makes sense for it to be Gabby. And so I didn't really kind of question that. But then when we find out that Gabby was never his mate at all, I reread that chapter, and it actually made complete sense for both Misery and Gabby. So it was really cool how she managed to write that to fit both scenarios, and rereading it again was just really interesting.
I think that it's there are so many people that like leave comments on Goodreads. Shout out to Goodreads. And they leave comments about how like Ali Hazelwood, is she the best writer ever? No. And I'm like, yeah, maybe she's not like Dante or like, I don't know, Oscar Wilde, but definitely she has a way of capturing the female intellect in a way, in my opinion, and also general human interactions. Because whenever you have a boyfriend, I don't know if she has a boyfriend or husband, I don't know her, but definitely she's had friends that were in a situation where there are always miscommunications, and the miscommunication trope, I'll just put it on the table, something that I usually don't like. But I think in this case it wasn't necessarily miscommunication, much as basically it was misery that, as most girls do that don't have a narcissistic complex, is just saying, oh, it would be too good if I was actually the mate of my husband that is treating me well, and I love his sister, and I kind of have this found family that I'm actually finding myself to growing to love. And on the other side, you have him who's like trying to convince himself that he's not in love with this person and it's not his mate. Like, vampires don't have mates, so technically she doesn't have to choose him. But in a way, I think that like the magic of mating in a way has gotten to her as well, because
it does feel that way.
Yeah, otherwise like definitely. She wouldn't be like that. Yeah. So if you were to have to give this book a general like final like grade or final star rating 0 to 5, what would it be?
I mean, I normally despise star ratings. They're very difficult. So
I know,
guess...
and it's very outside of... I know that I have kind of given you a book that is like more in my style, but I found that it would like be a good bridge between like my romance addiction and your more fantasy kind of style, and also what you write. So maybe... I
would say definitely I found myself wanting to read it. It didn't feel like, oh no, I've got to read this book Costy's given me, let's just go for it, which I have felt before when I'm reading books. So in my opinion, that definitely means it's above a 3.5.
Okay, great.
Now, whether it goes to 4 or not, I don't think it can hit a 4.5, purely because I'm very strict with my grading, and there's not many things that can go to a 4.5. So I'd say it could be a 3.5 or it could be a 4. I would find it hard to decide. I enjoyed reading it a lot though, so I would definitely recommend the book.
Yes, okay.
How about yourself?
I agree with recommending the books. I mean, like, I would, if I were to recommend something by Ali Hazelwood, I would definitely recommend this as one of like the top 2, this and Love on the Brain, definitely. And especially to someone who's like been in the fantasy genre and like needs something to transition. Off my grading, it's definitely above a 3, as you said. Like it's definitely like a passing grade. But in my opinion, what made this book so interesting is that I was listening to the audiobook. I'm not gonna lie, like I like listening to my audiobooks, but I found myself literally wanting to just stop it and just listen. And like at a certain point, I picked up like the actual like Kindle edition, and I just read it at a certain point because I really wanted to like have the details. So I think it could go up to a 4, definitely, because it's like, I was so into it, and I would have to reread it and like find it amazing for something to be over 4, but like in a year or so. But definitely a 4+. Like I know that I can't say plus technically, but like I'd say that it's definitely a 4 with the possibility of being a 4.5. Yeah. Okay. But definitely it's also because I am in love with the romance, and if she did a sequel, that would go to 4.5. So Ali, if you want a high grade from someone that you don't know or you met only once, but whatever, please write a sequel.
This is your sign.
That's your sign.
Yeah. Actually, one more thing I want to mention, touching on what you said about how you thought that she understood the female character very well. I thought that was also reflected in the male characters.
Oh, that's great.
Because often, I mean, it's hard to write about the other gender because you have to really be able to put yourself in their shoes. And even then, you know, your girlfriends or guy friends will like say, oh, maybe they wouldn't have done this or that. And so, sometimes when I'm reading a female author that's written a male character, it may seem a little bit like, not sure if a guy would do that. But with her, I thought that the characters did seem very real. And you could definitely relate to some of the things that Lo was feeling, some of the things that Alex was feeling, and they felt genuine and real. So I thought that, you know, her emotional maturity as an author to be able to understand and convey that was very good.
That's great. Honestly, we could have a whole video about talking about like how the female authors get female characters and male characters, and if you find that, I think that like that could be a whole different like trove because it's so difficult. But that's a great note to leave it on, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because like the book Boyfriend is such a thing that's like, wow, amazing. It was great to talk to you, and I hope that you found it useful and that you picked it up.
Yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember again, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and go check out the Life of Costy's channel as well.
And also my Instagram if you want to see my travels and also my book reviews that I do speedily.
I'll put that down in the link as well.
Thank you.